This podcast contains factual information only. It is intended for professional financial advisors and does not contain any personal financial advice. You should not make any investment, insurance, or financial decisions based on the content of this podcast.
Hey team, Ben Nash here. I'm one of the co-founders at XY Advisor and founder of the rapidly growing Pivot Wealth, which is my business baby I started from scratch about 8 years ago, and I've since scaled up to become one of Australia's better known financial advice companies for high income accumulators. You can join me every Tuesday as I have the pleasure of furthering my own knowledge by interviewing some of the best people in our industry and beyond to improve every part of what we do with our advice process. We're currently hiring financial advisors and associates, so if our approach resonates, you can learn more at pivotwealth.com.au/careers.
Futurity Investment Group is Australia's leading provider of education bonds and has over 45 years of expertise in tax and investments. The tax-effective trust-like structure of an education bond is a solution for all generations and provides unparalleled flexibility and access to deliver on client goals, ranging from paying for education costs to family wealth transfers.
Hey guys, Ben Nash from the XY Advisor team, and today I'm pumped to be here with the good Dr. David Dugan. Dukes is a business coach. He's a founder at Abundance Global, and he's been coaching and advising businesses for about a decade, worked with a couple of thousand plus businesses, helping them successfully scale. He also comes from a long background in the military, and he brings that regimented discipline to his style of business coaching, which I can speak to from personal experience. Dukes, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Hey, g'day Ben. G'day XY family.
Mate, I'm keen. I know that there are some sort of pretty acute challenges that advisors are facing at the moment, and I'm keen to get into some of your thoughts around that. But just before we do, I thought, someone that sees inside a lot of businesses, and I'm keen to hear a bit about some of the trends that you're seeing in the marketplace so people can learn from others' experience. But before we do, I know that you've just come off a 1 a.m. start for a US-based tech conference you're right in the middle of. So I'm keen to hear, what are the learnings from that? That's the A360 conference for tech entrepreneurs. Yeah. What are you learning and hearing?
Well, I think if we take it in the context, the last few years for everyone who's a business owner has been pretty full on. However, really what's happened with all the drama that's occurred is it accelerated everyone's push to go to technology. People who are very not old school businesses, but they ran it, very bricks and mortar, which is totally fine to a degree. It's really pushed them into technology. And I think the big picture was that was already happening. All this did was accelerate something that was already occurring. And I suppose the trend, and maybe the bit that is super useful for the advisors, is I feel like a lot of people think, we're now in this new norm. We're not. So there is no new norm. The new norm is our ability, and I've been very impressed with the financial advisors within Australasia in their ability to really add value to their clients during a pretty tough time. So I said that the big global thing is to understand that this technology push is going to happen a lot quicker than you think. In the same way that COVID hit us, there's going to be more of that. AI, big data, the metaverse, NFTs, cryptocurrency, whether you're a big fan of it or you're not a big fan of it, or whether you think it's a fad or whether not, it is here to stay. So those things are going to definitely play out for the advisor community, if only because their members or their clients are going to be asking questions around that. So I think that's one thing from a global place that regardless of what you're in, we have to adopt some more technology. I think that's a trend. Now let's take the micro of Australia with the recent legislation laws that have come out. And as you know, I've got 5 tertiary qualifications, and one of those was a financial advisory advanced diploma or diploma. And I loved the industry. I loved what it was all about and what I went for. But the regulation even back then was quite heavy. It's even more now. And from all the things that we can see, there's roughly 17-ish thousand advisors. And some of the predictions we're sort of seeing is that over the next couple of years, 2.5 or so years, we're probably going to reduce down to around 12,000. Now, because people are just going to leave and just go, I'm not interested in this. And, you know, I've been doing this for 30 years. Why do I have to go and do a 3-year degree or whatever it ends up being? So what that means from a Australia perspective particularly is you've got this decrease in advisors, but the demand is going to be equal or at the very worst equal, but it's going to be significantly more. So your supply and demand means that there's going to be more people that want advisory, but there's going to be less people delivering. So on one hand, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's a really bad thing. Or it's a significant challenge. And that's the challenge of, well, I need to recruit. I can't just do this on my own, and I'm going to need to bring some more team in. So these are some things that we're seeing right now that are very pertinent for advisors to get their head around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I know for us that we've been hiring for like 2 years, but hiring heavily for the last 6 to 9 months. And as you say, advisor numbers going down, pool is shrinking at the same time. There have been a lot of legislative changes. You know, it's always easy to find things to criticize in that. And I'm sure that I could if I put my mind to it. But I would say that on balance, you see that the legislation is well-intentioned and heading in the right direction for consumers. And I think that alongside some of the fantastic innovation that we're seeing with advisors, the transition away from product-focused advice into more strategic and high-level clients, which is really fostering further even the demand from advice consumers, because they're saying, actually, wow, I didn't know that this was possible, and this is actually really great because I can save tax and support around decisions, and then I feel confident and I can buy that property, I can do those things, and happy days. So I think it's all happening. The bar is being lifted, which I think is good. It's unfortunate for some people because it means that they're having to jump through a few hoops that when they could just be focusing on helping more people, and that's really unfortunate. But what the positive side of that is that it is pushing people that aren't fully committed to not be a part of this industry, which I think it's a real privilege to be able to be supporting people in this way. So if you're not prepared to do some work to you know, I suppose tick those boxes, then I'd say that it does show a bit of a lack of commitment there. So I think that it's a bit of a purple patch for advisors, and certainly the conversations that I'm having with advisors and what I'm feeling myself, it's not so much the challenge around finding clients to work with, although that's always something that everyone always wants more clients, but it's more so just like, you know, how do we work efficiently? How do we make sure that our team is supported? How do we find good people? How do we recruit them? How do we onboard them well? So I know that for, you know, as a client of yours, I know that you guys have been on this big push around team and done a ton of stuff over the last 3-6-ish months to help people with that. I'd say maybe that's a good place to start. Like, what do you think? What are the big things that people should be thinking about to nail it in that space?
It's great. I think one of the good things is that with all the things that have been going on and are still going on, it gives us an opportunity to really look at why we do what we do. So I'd like to go through and I'll give a little bit of a dot point just on what we've seen here around. Here are some things that we've seen really work really well right now with advisors right now. First thing is, and even though it sounds simple, I know people forget this. So for those who are listening, please write this down. And that is, first thing is, remember why you started or why you chose to be in this incredible, amazing profession. Like, what was it that was your vision? What inspired you? Even if it wasn't to be an owner, even if it was, I want to do this as advisory, it's really important right now to tap into what it is that you did. Now, it's going to be beyond just money, because you can go out and do lots of things to make money. But if you're listening to this, you've decided you wanted to become an advisor for a reason. So the first thing is to tap into that. And then from that, and then think of, we call that our grand vision. Like, think about that. Well, what's the difference I want to make? You know what? And one of the great things about the work that you do as advisors and XY, and also I would say the work that we do are helping support and coach small to medium-sized business owners, is the impact that we make is significant. we don't just help a single person, but their partners, their economic community, their families, and help to create, as we call it, intergenerational wealth. But we've got to remember why we're doing it, and then who do you want to champion? Like, who do you want to be the hero for? Who do you want to go out there and champion? Now, for us, it's small to medium-sized businesses that have revenue from $500,000 a year to 10 million is the sweet spot for us that we love working with. So I go for an advisor within the industry. Who do you want to actually work with? Now, Ben, I know how to work with you. Well, you do work with a variety of different people, but you have a particular niche of people that you know that you're very, very good at working with, deliver an amazing result. Fair call?
Yeah, definitely.
And so you go, right, okay. Once you've done that, and that shouldn't take too long, is then we're going to think, and before we talk about team, is we actually go upstream a little bit and talk about the product offering. Here's the catch I'm seeing is too many advisors are still stuck in the old paradigms of how to do the advice work. They're unleveraged. In fact, they've got a very unleveraged business, and what's going to happen for them over the next couple of years with supply and demand going the way it is, everyone's going to think, oh, this is going to be great, it's going to be good. You know, it's actually not. What they're going to do is they're going to create a business that's going to be golden handcuffs, a business that they come to hate. And I've had plenty of people come to us going, look, everyone thinks I'm winning, everyone thinks I'm going great, but I hate it and I hate working in it. And the saying that you've heard us say, Ben, is no business owner will grow into pain. So if you're already working 50 hours a week and the idea of getting more work seems like I want to make more money, it's going to be great. But no one's going to go, oh, I want to double my business, I'm going to put in 100 hours. Yeah. Unconsciously, that's what people do, and they start to self-sabotage. They don't reply to emails as quickly. They don't follow up a lead as quickly. So find out who we really want to serve. Then the next part of that is, let's have a look at the product. Now, that does take a little bit more than this conversation here, but we're going to dial in that product and go, this is what we're going to do, and then leverage that there. And how can you be the heart surgeon in that work? The reason this is important is because that goes to the next thing around talent. That just know that we need to use technology in the solution as much as we possibly can. And the business model and the pricing model around the product offering needs to be appropriate for the value you're delivering. And I think at the moment, a lot of people are still in an old school methodology and not working. Did you want to sort of, I know you've done a lot of work on this and you've done an incredible job as a lead on this, Ben. Any comments you want to throw in around that one?
Yeah, look, I think for us that and I would say I always thought that we were pretty efficient with what we did, but we do deliver. And I think a lot of advisors are moving towards a higher touch, higher fee model. It's partly as a result of the significant uplift in, licensing requirements, licensing costs, administration requirements, compliance requirements, like all of those things means that unfortunately for the people that can't afford it, like advisors just need to charge more for advice, and it's pushing people up the value chain so that they can charge more appropriately. So we have always been doing that, and I felt that our model needed to have a lot of one-on-one FaceTime contact with our advisors, and it does to a certain extent. However, one of the things that we've focused on as part of our work over the last probably 12 months is saying, okay, what is the scalable unit for the advisors? Okay, how long are meetings? What are we delivering? How can we get to that outcome without spending as long sitting in a room? Because what we've been able to do as a result of that is we've probably cut at least a third, maybe up to a half out of our advice delivery timeline, which essentially means that our advisors can deliver 50% more clients. So it's great. Yes, we need to recruit more people, and we're still recruiting more people, and we need to onboard them and do all of those things. But if you can get 50% more clients out of your existing team, then you only need to recruit 50% or 50% fewer people, if that makes sense as well. So I think everyone, that there's always more. And I know that for us that there's definitely more that we could do, but, and we will do. But, I think technology is helping, but even just looking at like, what are the outcomes and what are the other ways that we could achieve those outcomes without having to sit in a room necessarily.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, you've doubled by doing that, you've doubled your capacity, which is great. And I think the biggest thing we see as challenges with advisors is that they end up becoming the biggest. They end up being the biggest, value in the business, but they become the biggest bottleneck. And they've just got to get out. They've got to get out of the way of their own business and let the business thrive, so it can actually deliver what it can for them. So that kind of moves in just this conversation. Then, let's say you've got your product, you've got that moving. There's a little bit of a transition that's occurred, and that does require a bit of a mindset, an uplift of mindset. And there are some tools, there are some templates and things we do on that. What we find is that sometimes, because of the desire of advisors to add lots of value, they want to be, even the ones who say that they're leveraged, they're generally not. They're still answering lots of the questions of their team. So what I thought I'd do, just as a quick fix, something that as the community is listening to this right now, what I'd love to do is give them a real quick fix that will save them at least a couple of hours a week on average. Would that be okay if I just take them through this?
That sounds great.
It's a really simple formula. I'm going to give the cut down version because it's easy to remember it. The problem that we see is a lot of advisors and owners of businesses are still answering too many questions in their business. That's number one. Number two, what we find is they are also finding that there's like, man, I feel like I'm the only brain in this business, and everyone's kind of like doing the menial task and coming to me to ask questions. And the saying we have on that is octopus syndrome. That is, there's one brain, lots of tentacles, and everything sucks. And they also go, well, the team are just not stepping up and owning things more. Now, a lot of things, the reason that occurs, if you've got the right team, right people on the bus, is because they've been conditioned that way. So one of the ways to get around this is use one of the strategies we call 131. And 131 helps to educate your team to help them to think. And it's really, really simple. And I learned this when I was in the military. As you know, my background was also as a dentist. And so I was seeing patients all the time, and my troops would come in and go, hey, sir, can you do this? Can you do this? And I'd be answering all these questions and go, this is just too much. I can't treat a patient, answer all your questions. And so that's where 131 was born. And that is when someone in your team comes to you with a problem. That's the one. We've got one problem. What we want to do, instead of them throwing the monkey on you, is for them to keep that monkey. And how we get them to keep the monkey is to actually ask them the question, what's the problem? What's the real issue here that you're wanting to solve? That on its own is enough for someone to go, I don't know, I'm just having like a bit of a blab. I'm feeling irritated. Someone said something I didn't like. Okay, so what's the problem here? That's the one. Then the next thing is the three is their job is to come up with 3 solutions. And the people go, what do you mean by that? It's like, well, there's the example here. I remember the very first time I created this, I had someone come to me and say, look, there's someone at the front counter. This is as a dentist. And they said they're complaining because they thought they had an appointment, they got an emergency, and they want to be seen now. And my question was, what's the problem? Oh, well, I want them to go away happy. Okay, cool. So what are your solutions? And one of the key things here is to help your team to come up with solutions if they don't come up with it. Now, if they don't, they go, I don't know. Yeah, cool. Come back in 5 minutes. Let me know what some of your solutions are. You can't let them off the hook because you're not allowing them. It's a bit like a baby who's starting to walk. Every time they're about to wobble, you go and grab them. They don't get the opportunity to fall. They don't get to learn. And when you're doing solutions, like, well, what else? What else? Now, one thing to keep in mind with providing solutions, if you only give you one thing, then there's no solutions that are being put into place. There's like one thought. If you got 2, you got a dilemma, this or that. So that's why 3 is a really important number. So you actually really do have choices. One of those choices is you can choose to do nothing, but it's got to be deliberate choice, not burying the head in the sand and it's like, I don't want to do anything. It's like, I know, you know what, we're going to leave it. We're not going to do something about this. We're going to wait and see. We're going to review. One problem, 3 solutions. And this next part here that really brings it in is to ask the person, what is your one recommendation out of the 3, which is the one that you think is going to be the one that's going to be the key one. And the job of the owner or the leader is to let them do that thinking. And chances are they're going to, especially if they're not as experienced, they'll come up with a solution that's probably not going to be the one that you would do and probably not as good as what you think. But you've got to let them go with it. You'll let them go with it unless it's going to be someone's going to hurt someone or it's going to be something that's, really off. It's really going to completely change their financial future or something like that. Then obviously not there. But you got to let them sort of learn to fail, because what that does is allows a sense of autonomy to them to own their mistakes, and that's where the biggest lessons and learnings are. Now, you only need to do that a few times to have the team really sort of pick up the gear. The way I love to bring that in is to take the team through that activity and actually ask them as a training, go, hey guys, this is what we're going to do going forward. 1, 3, 1. Maybe you have a problem. We're going to ask the problem. Here's your 3 solutions, and I'll ask for your 1 recommendation. So that's 1, 3, 1. That's a great little one of the hacks that we've built, and as you know, we've trained people on, that can really help people to get a lot more leverage very quickly, but also uplift their whole team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. And it actually works on partners and children as well. I've been trialing that one out at home. It's like, what are our options? What do you think we should do? Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
But I love that for teams in particular, that you're right, that it shows that you are also, like, apart from you not having to be the one that makes the decisions, and as you say, carry the monkey, it also shows that people that you are behind what they think, and it is a mechanism that you can use to coach and develop them to be better problem solvers in their business as well. So I love that. I think as well that I don't know if it's related, but I feel like another iteration of this, which I know that you've taught us about, and it's been a real game changer, is the concept of the executive leadership team in a business. Yeah. Can you talk a bit about that and how, because I know that a lot of these growing advice businesses are going from that, small sort of micro business where you are like you say, in that octopus mode, where you the founder or the couple of founders are the people that are responsible for making a lot of those key decisions. And for us, it's been a real game changer to have empower key leadership team members to then take more responsibility and ownership, and free us of having to do that. Can you talk a bit to that and how people can actually make it happen?
Yeah, great. Look, I'd say typically the advisors that we speak to, they're smart dudes and dudesses. There's usually 1 or 2 key advisors, and then they've got some support advisors. They're usually 7 figures or just hitting that category, and they're going, oh look, I've kind of dialed it all in. I've got the business is sweet. Haven't I sort of built it out? And the answer to that is no. You're just at the point of beginning. That's almost the rite of passage to get to the place that you can actually really build a business. Because what we'll find is that there's still massive key person risk. Even if they go, oh, I went away for 3 weeks and everything is okay. It's like, I guarantee if you went to sell your business, they're going to tell you you've got a massive key person risk that's sitting in that business. So what do we need? What do we need to do around that? And how do we build that out? I think we did just go a step before that event, and that is to again, we talked about who we want to serve, like why do we get out of bed? Who do we want to work with? What's the product offering that's for them? And then the next part of this is, what does the team need to look like to facilitate that offering? That's an important point. Now, based on that there, it'll help you to work out what we call the key seats. And Jim Collins wrote about, so it's his specific language, and that is the key seats on the bus. Now, it's not every role in there, but it's actually working out the key, your organization chart and then the key seats. Now, the biggest shift happens in a business, and not just the value of the business, but the valuation that comes off the business, is when if we look at, and there are lots of books out there, lots of theories around this, right? You have this person who's the CEO, and then you have a general manager or the visionary and the integrator, and then there's the rest of the team. The only thing, I don't find any really great scalable businesses who have done that. There are, I'm sure, I just don't meet many. What ends up happening is you end up having the bottleneck go from the person who founded it to the general manager, and then they end up just getting as stressed out as anyone else, and you burn them out. So what's the biggest shift? The biggest shift, particularly when you see the business when they've just hit the 7 figures, and they're like, okay, well, I've reached this place of my individual brilliance has got me here. Now I'm starting to get things looking a bit shaky. So the key part of that is the decision making up until then is usually 1 or 2 people in the business who are making the key decisions in where not just the direction, but some of the most, some of the important decisions that are happening, month by month in the business. And a lot of that is the structure that they set up their business. So what we see is the biggest shift is when we delegate the decision making to the executive leadership team. Now, this is a really, really important point. Let's say, as there are different areas in a business. You've got your lead generation, you've got your conversion, you've got your customer success, you've got your operations, you've got your, admin and finance. So, which is part of the operations there. So just look at all these different areas. You might have heads of departments for all those areas. And a traditional org chart would have, CEO, general manager, and all these heads of departments. Okay. The distinction around executive leadership team is there'll be a number of people, and each business can be a little bit different. It might be 3, might be 4, might be 5, depending on the size of the business. Could even be 6, depending on bigger businesses. It could be a representative from each of those what do we call them, engine rooms or departments. It doesn't have to be one person representing each, though. But what happens is that now forms up a different team. That team makes the decisions. Now, they have some mandates and they have some principles that the CEO or the owner gives them. But the really big distinction is collectively they make a decision, not representing, let's say they're the marketing person, not representing marketing or not representing the delivery, the customer success area or admin. They're making decisions representing the business as a collective group. What's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on here? Now, when that shift occurs, that's when we see the businesses really, really pick up. And more importantly, it's not just about the money. Yeah, you make a lot more money doing it, but the biggest shift we see on this, Ben, is that we're leveraging the founder, especially one or two of the founders, the owners, we're leveraging their time. What we see most advisors get to a certain area, they cap out because they just can't leverage anymore. And this is one of the key strategies to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's the thing that I have been facing, that you do, that there's only so many hours in the day, and especially when you might have great people that are, and when I built the business, it's like I hire because I need a great paraplanner, I need a great advisor, I need a great associate, and you end up with this, I think you might have said this actually, it's like you've got an army of followers or something, and it's like you're still the person.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's a Jim Collins quote that you would have heard me say, and that is, you end up being the guru with 1,000 helpers.
Yeah, exactly. Which is okay if you're running a $500,000 business or in those earlier stages. But when you start getting to that more bigger business, you've got more stuff going on, that it's just more things that you need to keep across, and that takes time to get there. And then you go, shit, I've been at it for so long now. It's like it gets exhausting. So how should people start with that?
Yeah. Yeah, so that I thought you were going to say that, because you don't start off building. Well, depending on how you want to fund it. Let me just say this. Most people we work with, we're not working with people that have got $1 million in the bank and going right. As in, they've got $1 million they're going to invest in the business straight away. We're going to bootstrap it all the way through. And by the way, I like it that way. That'd be my choice, simply because you're actually more lean on the way you think. You're more agile, and you can be more innovative on it. So I think the part of it is just understanding there's a thing called the life cycle of business, and just understanding where you are and what you need to be doing. But what we need to be doing is a process called capacity planning, something because we've taken you through a number of times on this as well, is you've got to do a process of capacity planning and going, okay, what's the goal in the business? What's the revenue and profit we want to pull out? What's the product we need to sell? And then what we do is we've got to map the team. And the map the team for where the business is at. And you do need to hire ahead of when you need the demand. And to do that, there's just a simple but not easy process of doing capacity planning. So the really short answer on that is you've got to do it in stages, unless you want to put a heap of cash in and basically buy the people right from scratch. What I would say though, so there is a process, there's a part that you go through on that. Regardless of what size business that someone is right now, what can they start on straight away? And I think this is the biggest, if I could leave this as one of the biggest messages for the XY community, is most people understand marketing. Most people understand recruiting, and they recruit when someone leaves. They go, we're now 90% capacity. I'm really busy. I now need to recruit someone. Okay, that there is the old world thinking, and that's what's going to have advisors end up hating their businesses. We cannot do that anymore. What we need to do is use the same psychology that we have for marketing for clients as we do marketing for team. Now, we've got a process called the 6-step talent acquisition plan. So it's talent acquisition. And the saying, the saying people have is, always be selling. Our message is always be recruiting. Even if you don't need them right now, you can have them in the hopper. You can warm up. Hey, in 6 months' time, we'll need you. Let's keep on the conversation going. You need to have the people ready before you actually need it. Now, there are steps and processes, but I think the shift in mindset is the biggest part of this. Is just to make sure that you think of your marketing budget. I would put the same, if not equal or more money into my team acquisition as I would into. Well, I can tell you right now, our team acquisition budget is 3 times more than our lead generation funding. That's to give you an idea of the focus of where we are on that phase, because the massive shortage of people is not just in advisors, what's going on, skilled labour is going to get more and more. So if people could just take this, okay, I really need to treat this team acquisition, I really need to treat this as a whole marketing thing and need to step it up, then I'm be super duper happy, because in about 6 to 12 months time, we're going to if everyone thinks it's bad now, it's like, this is just a warm up.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that we found is that we've been taking that approach, that always be recruiting, is that you talk to people and then you start to see opportunities for how they can fit into the team. I think having that clear org chart and the future org chart is really key for that. But you can see that people start to get positioned, and then, obviously when we've got a recruiter that helps us fill some roles, and it's great, but it is really expensive. So the more you can do yourself and keep your ear to the ground for those opportunities, the easier.
So just on that, probably the recent data on a tech perspective is it's actually, because even though wages are looking like they're coming up a bit in most industries, what we've found is the more youthful the person is, in the age bracket is less about the money than what people think, but it's more about the opportunity, and it's more about the ability to serve, and they're more passionate about the like who the people that you're working with and the mission. They're very, very, very much more mission focused. And so that's the reason why this marketing for team is so important, because we want to have a place that people go, oh, I love what they're doing. I want to be part of that. And it's not just about the dollars. It's and the recent studies are saying it's actually more about the sense of purpose than it is actually the cash. And
the other side of that is that if you're paying less, and I get that you do need to pay competitively, obviously, but when you find talent, when they are, if you're paying a slightly lower salary than what they could get somewhere else, then that they're committed to and behind that brand and vision, which I think is a really important thing, especially for growing businesses, that you do have people that are all in as well. Obviously, it saves you a few bucks, but it's probably more about knowing that you've got people that are, behind the cause. Dugs, I could and probably will chat to you about this for hours on end, but mate, really appreciate you sharing your insights. For people that are keen to learn more about you guys and what you're about and what you do, what's the best way for them to learn? Yeah. Great. The best way is go into our website, which is www.abundance.global. That's all it is, abundance.global. Go in there, have a look at some of there's some great free articles and information on there, some videos. And if you want to connect with us, you can connect with us as well. And what I do is I'd be more than happy for anyone in the XY advisor community, either myself or one of the coaching team, if they want to have a quick chat just to go through where they're at, I'm happy to do that. We've got some great events that are coming up that go through these things. So there could be some great value for someone who's in that stage of like, I'm ready to rock and roll. Go onto our web page, or alternatively, if someone wants to reach out directly to me, if they want to just reach out to my email, david@abundance.global, just shoot that through, and myself or someone on the team just organised, we can have a catch up. So I'm more than happy to help the XY community. Nice one, mate. Well, looking forward to those events. I actually heard that you've got a celebrity panel on at one of them, so I'll be eagerly away. But mate, thank you again. Really appreciate you sharing your insights, and especially after a 1 a.m. wake up for your tech conference, mate. Thanks again, and we'll catch you on the next one. Too easy. Beautiful. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, XY family.